EBS, CSAT, Special Lecture Listening, Lesson 3. Lesson 3, Question 1. Even outdoors, although climate, including temperatures, is usually regarded as beyond the control of man, localized temperature control is sometimes effective on a microclimate scale. Vancouver, Canada, is a few miles north of the 49th parallel, about 60 miles farther north than Minot, North Dakota, with its legendary harsh winter temperatures. But constant phone winds off the Pacific Ocean make Vancouver winters mild and wet, although sunshine is scant. When I had a garden there in the late 1940s, a neighbor used to say that I cheated God to bring in my lettuce and tomatoes earlier than anyone else. The bed in which the vegetables grew was banked toward the south at approximately 50 degrees, and the area between the plants was covered with flat stones, gathered from the nearby beach to maximize soil heating from the week later. Winter, early spring sun. Lesson 3, Question 2. Energy can always be injected into an organization to motivate people to do things. Bonuses, promotions, other carrots, and even a few sticks can get people to work harder for sure. But the gains are, like all manipulations, short-term. Over time, such tactics cost more money and increase stress for employee and employer alike, and eventually will become the main reason people show up for work every day. That's not loyalty. That's the employee version of repeat business. Loyalty among employees is when they turn down more money or benefits to continue working at the same company. Loyalty to a company trumps pay and benefits. And unless you're an astronaut, it's not the work we do that inspires us either. It's the cause that we come to work for. We don't want to come to work to build a wall. We want to come to work to build a cathedral. Lesson 3, Question 3. In the early 1960s, the great American writer James Baldwin wrote, "People are trapped in history, and history is trapped in them." He was speaking to race when he penned those words. But the statement is equally true if the word people is replaced with all of life on Earth, present and past, for each strand of DNA in each of our cells is an ancient record of biological history, written in simple code and passed down from generation to generation. One could say that DNA is nothing but history, one with a physical manifestation that was slowly blended and accumulated over countless eons. By the most pitiless of all phenomena, natural selection. DNA is a history that is inside us, and yet one that is our master as well, the blueprint for our bodies, and dictator of what we will pass on to our children. Gifts that can be blessings or deadly time bombs. We are indeed trapped in this particular vehicle of history as much. It is trapped in us. Lesson 3, Question 4. People may not think critically for a variety of reasons, such as laziness and inability. But fear is a big one. Why is that? People don't want to think not just because it's hard, but also because they're afraid it will make them question their long-held beliefs. Your students most likely do want to think about things that can be very controversial, like politics, ethics, and philosophy. But probe even deeper. Once we start thinking deeply, long-held assumptions are challenged. Thought makes us worry that we'll lose our balance and have to look at the world in a different way. We worry about thinking because we care about what we and other people think. Even the most far-fetched ideas have an effect on the world. Non-Euclidean geometry and symbolic logic are about as abstract as thinking can get, but you can't understand Einstein gravity without the first and run computers without the second. Thinking is important to us, to others, and to the world we live in. This is one reason why we are so afraid of it. It shakes us to the core. EBS, CSAT, Special Lecture. Listening. Lesson 4. Lesson 4, Question 1. There's a saying that you can't eat information. That may be so, but the food we eat today is the fruit of thousands of years of increasingly high-quality information. The knowledge of how to farm, what seeds, what tools, and how to use them, what times of year, what irrigation, what sequence of one crop after another on the same land. What we eat is solar energy, filtered, concentrated, and distilled through the lens of human knowledge. The energy the Earth receives from the sun each year has remained more or less constant through all of human civilization. What's allowed us to flourish is our increasingly sophisticated knowledge of how to capture an ever-growing, but still tiny fraction of that energy in a form that can fuel our bodies. Every step in the advancement of our knowledge has brought with it an increase in the amount of energy we can tap into. Lesson 4, Question 2. Increased community engagement by professional journalists on their own will not solve the problem of making the news more relevant to everyone. Because traditional news organizations already have abandoned many communities, leaving behind news deserts. In those places, citizens must take up the responsibility for discovering information, holding the powerful accountable and telling the news for themselves and their neighbors. The democratization of information through the disruptions caused by computers and the internet allows citizens to retake control of local news in ways that never have existed before, and it calls them to take greater care in the gathering and dissemination of what they discover or think they know. Journalism, perhaps like never before, belongs to the people rather than to professional journalists, wealthy publishers, or even corporate shareholders. The same technology that has shifted the balance of power toward the people gives them the tools to act as broadcasters and publishers of information, essential to their immediate community, and, more critically, to serve as gatekeepers to information for other people around them. Lesson 4, Question 3. It is a myth that all ideas are equally valid, even those with little or no objective proof. The existence of science is the commitment to objective truth. After all, science is true. Fire is hot, the wheel is efficient, birds and planes can fly, we've landed on a comet and traveled to the moon, antibiotics treat illness, and immunizations keep us from getting sick. These accomplishments are made possible by objective truths. A plausible theory can, and frequently does, push science forward. However, an intuition must be followed with testing that confirms or disproves its veracity. If a theory is disproved, one should consider it as a reason to reject or alter the hypothesis, not a justification to just keep firmly holding to the hypothesis, because you are instinctively wedded to it. Critical thinking is an absolute must, and we must respect evidence. It's the only reason for anyone to trust anything about reality. Without testing and evidence, intuition is useful, but it is never the ultimate word. Lesson 4, Question 4. If you suffer from social angst, awkwardness, or dread, know that this is a perfectly normal response. No matter what it looks like, a lot of people are dealing with internal anxiety in social situations. But it is actually possible to build your social muscle and use it to boost your connections. And your anxiety is giving you clues to what icebreakers and lifelines other people might be grateful for you to extend. Truly listen to what your anxiety is signaling to you about where you feel uncertain or insecure, and practice empathy by offering a hand to others who might be in the same boat. Remember that flipping anxiety into compassion is something inherent in you. It is, in fact, what your anxiety was designed to do for you. Together, compassion and empathy can buffer against bad anxiety. You can use your anxiety to be more outward-facing. The outcome? The spread of compassion for your fellow human beings, other species, and the planet.